I did everything right and they indicted me.
Boom, 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 boom. Schieß dich einfach ab.
The Ombudsman had been told that the subject of unrest was to be ignored, and she had duly informed all of the licensed media and journalism outlets she oversaw of this mandatory guidance in her daily messaging memorandum. The memo had instead directed that stories focus on the groundswell of enthusiasm for the new ration cuts, with emphasis on patriotic citizens who were eager to sacrifice even more to ensure the coming triumph of progressivism. That was like one sentence, like that whole paragraph pretty much was just one sentence. Channel 5 had run a lengthy interview segment on the work of a UCLA nutrition professor regarding how an ultra-low-calorie diet actually improves health and longevity. But because the professor was a Jewish male, a female student named NASA was chosen to appear on camera to do the actual interview, which she conducted from behind her burqa.
Jesus Christ.
Rios Parkinson had an appointment at 6 o'clock, but not in his office. It was across the street, only a few minutes by foot, but he took his SUV anyway.
You know, see, jokers are all hypocrites, because they know that there's no such thing as global warming. It's just a lie to keep the poor Iowa farmer in check.
The vehicle turned off to the right into the ramp underground...
Does that feel like this is yet another part where an editor might have...
Yeah. Yeah. The vehicle turned off to the right into the ramp underground leading to what had been a massive parking lot before the climate laws ended most citizen automobile use.
Fucking Jesus.
That was a doozy,
Yeah,
that one.
pulled out all the stops for that one, okay.
But what Rios Parkinson really appreciated about the climate laws was how much control over the masses they provided the elite.
But the elite currently have control over them.
And you support it.
And you work for them to aid in
Yeah.
that control.
Global warming, he mused, was the best thing that ever happened to progressivism.
Yeah, the planet ending was a great
Yeah.
boon for us. We're so happy that happened.
His office had called ahead and he was received underground by staff members who shepherded him and his security goons, Arthur and Sam, to an elevator. It actually worked. Important people needed to go to the top floor, and so what was necessary to make the elevator function was done. Oh, in these communist regimes, nothing works except for the things that important people have to use. Have you ever visited planet Earth?
Yeah.
Like circa 2023?
Yeah. It's not even a question of like conflicting beliefs. It's not like we believe something and he believes something different, or that he says he believes one thing and actually believes another. It's a question of what you actually do, Kurt. You're not some innocent bystander that's just giving your opinion. You take money from these people. They're not just describing what you would do. This is what you do.
Right now he was searching for one man. There, in the prime southwest corner, of course, set off by a buffer of 4 to 5 tables from the other, lesser diners, sat his guest. The man saw him, smiled warmly and stood, extending his right hand. Was this a provocation? Shaking hands was publicly discouraged as emblematic of unequal power relations, but among themselves the elite still performed the old ritual. How the hell is shaking hands somehow like?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of
The point of it is that you're like as equals.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, Kurt, you've got to stop using words that you don't understand.
Kurt, you've got to stop making shit. You've got to stop making shit because you're really bad at it.
All you're displaying is your complete ignorance.
Yeah.
Which is what this is. It's
a
just
display of complete ignorance.
People's
A novel
Republic,
by
a display of complete ignorance by
Kurt
Kurt Schlichter. No, Rios Parkinson assessed. It was not a calculated insult, but a message that there was no time for the usual kabuki dances that they performed in public.
Now it's become the Man in the High Castle, where America is split between the Nazis and the Japanese.
Fucking No, yeah.
Like it actually.
Yeah. Senator Harrington, Rios Parkinson said, shaking the extended tanned hand. He knew Senator Richard Harrington of California quite well. In fact, before coming he had reviewed the special file his team had assembled on the senator. Not much in there of use. Harrington certainly had an active sexual life for a 60-year-old, but nothing useful there. The senator made sure to include as many men as women in his rotation, so there could be no irritating claims of cis-normativity that some enemy might use to derail him.
So is he politically gay then? I don't understand. Is he not actually attracted to men?
He just
forces himself to have sex with men just in case.
Don't talk to me like I'm one of those true-believing fools, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence by treating you like you're one either. I ran companies before all of this. I know how to make things, how to get them to people. The people we work with, that you and I compete against, they don't. They cannot abide anyone else choosing or doing or thinking without their approval. And that's why we can't even feed ourselves anymore.
This is it. The perfect example of exactly what we're saying. So, what he's just inadvertently done there is, remember how the red states are all good because all of the competent business people left? But except a couple did stay behind, and they're the only few that can get things done. This guy, who has just been portrayed to us as this like Machiavellian, scheming, political fraudster, he used to run this, he knows how to get things done. In this instance, he's the true evil at the heart of the People's Republic. But if he'd have left and gone to the red states and done exactly the same, he'd be the reason why the red states are so brilliant.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that as well. Like,
just lays his hand down on the table and expects you not to see it.
it's like, Kurt, I don't even know whose side you're on. I cannot fathom it.
Well, honestly, he's on no one but his own side.
Yeah.
He's just in it for himself. Money, 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 money. That's it.
You can tell he's a true patriot, can't you?
Oh yeah, he loves his country.
Loves his country.
That's why he hates 99% of the people that live in it.
Yeah. A complete fucking charisma vacuum.
Pissing in the wind.
Shit. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so, if we read Turnbull as the self-insert that he obviously is, does that bring anything to light, do you think, maybe? On Church Schlichter himself?
Yes.
A mercenary for billionaires with no real allegiance to anybody, no love of anyone, a bitter, hateful, spiteful bastard.
The only difference is that Kurt Schlichter doesn't have any discernible skills.
If you actually plot, he'd just get swept up by the fucking pigs and he'd just give up and get arrested and go to prison.
He'd rat everyone out. Rios Parkinson remained calm, fascinated that the senator was saying these things to him. Why would he do that? What did he want? We don't produce anything except propaganda to stoke fake outrage so people forget they're hungry. And since we don't make anything or grow anything or pump anything out of the ground because of global warming or social justice or whatever, there's no more money coming in. If we don't change, we collapse. And when this all falls apart, people like you and I are going to be swinging from broken lampposts. I'm just trying to picture how you would hang someone from a broken lamppost.
How broken is this?
How broken is the lamppost? Because if it's as broken as I'm picturing, it's just a pole, and you can't really. You need a crossbar, don't you?
They're just like tied around the neck to it, and they're just like running around in circles like a dog.
The senator continued. Remember the free market? Well, it works. Somehow, the most ridiculous line of this entire novel.
If only we'd elected Reagan and Thatcher, we wouldn't have any of this.
And now we are seeing what happens when you replace it with a bunch of useless college professors, untalented artists, moronic movie stars, and San Francisco Chardonnay sippers who think they can personally run every aspect of a country when they know absolutely nothing about how a country works. There is a reason you are telling me this. What is it? I need your help. And you definitely need mine, the senator said. Not just the riots. No, it's come to my attention that you have managed to lose a certain item that would be of great interest to people on both sides of the border, and that there are infiltrators, spies, here trying to get it. Rios Parkinson froze. How did you? Don't bother asking. Kurt's far too stupid to figure that out. If someone gets a hold of it, your position becomes precarious, Harrington said. Like a man hanging out there on that ledge while another man pounds his fingers one by one with a ball-peen hammer. I thought that was going to go a different way.
Honestly, yeah.
The server, a young woman in a short skirt that would not play anywhere else in the PRNA, hovered a few feet away with 2 bottles of French sparkling water and 2 cups of ice. Harrington gestured for her to approach, and she dropped 2 coasters on the table, then placed the glasses on them and filled them up without a word, leaving the bottle. So I am disappointed that he doesn't mention every time they blink.
Yeah.
Or like have to scratch their nose or something. You know what I mean?
It
It really takes me out.
Yeah, I mean, this book could easily be triple the length. Yeah, these are the things you got to think of. Yeah.
And you will help me by not telling anyone about your fuck up. And in return for this gracious favour, well, nothing now. You can bank that favour. Do you know what I mean by that, since we have largely done away with banking as part of our quest for ideological unimpeachable impoverishment?
Oh, fuck me. He cannot go a sentence.
No, he can't let it go. He just
cannot go a
can't.
sentence without trying to make these stupid little fucking points. Like, it's all he can do. Like, that's...
It's all he's got.
Yeah.
He's like Graham Linehan.
Yeah.
He's
All
obsessed.
he's got
He's
there.
obsessed with it.
Yeah. It's literally the majority of the book is complete, unnecessary, irrelevant asides that only serve to allow him to invent problems to have with people that don't exist.
I really hope they give him a Netflix special.
Yeah, even Dave Chappelle.
You want to be president? I do, said the senator. And once I am, I intend to stay president for a good while. And to do that, to keep from being hanged from a lamppost whose lamp hasn't worked since 2028, I need to bring people some measure of prosperity. Rios Parkinson took a sip on his fizzy water, then put the glass back down. If you perform, you may even earn the leeway to put competent and, most importantly, loyal people in positions of responsibility. So much of it's like, you're literally just describing like Trump's government, you know what I mean? Like, to put loyal people in positions. It's like the guy appointed his like fucking son-in-law and his daughter and his children to positions of power.
Kurt would never stand for that
No.
in the United States of America. He would never slavishly support the man doing precisely that.
No more having to promote someone into a position you need to be able to count on just because he chose to snip his prick off and sand down his Adam's apple. He really is like Graham Linehan, actually, isn't
Fuck me. Wow.
he? Yes.
That, I mean,
sorry
I don't know
about
if
that,
it's
folks.
quite the most bigoted thing that's ever been in any of these books, but it's definitely like top
Fucking
three.
up there, isn't it? It's definitely up there. That's, again, it's like, Kurt, you're not a comedian, not just because you're incapable of being funny, but more importantly because you're not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
I don't think you know what funny is.
Yeah.
Like, that is fucking, that's just horrible.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Like, why would you...
Just a cunt.
Like-
just a horrible cunt.
The idea that trans people get special privileges.
Yep, they're the most protected people in the world, according to these fucking absolute crybabies.
Yes. Yeah. These fucking coddled little cuck fucking crybabies.
Yeah,
Prison
cunt.
term, isn't it? Oh,
Look, could you imagine if Kurt Schlichter had to endure 1/10 of what the average transgender person goes through in a single afternoon?
Nah. No, like Kurt Schlichter, as you say, is one of these privileged, protected little cut crybabies. And look at how much he bitches!
Yeah. And then he has the nerve to say something as fucking ugly and mean-spirited as that. Just to be a cunt.
Yeah, just to be nasty.
Just to punch down on someone who's already being disenfranchised, pushed to the margins, dehumanised every day.
Yeah, that was really
That is
nasty.
easily one of the worst things we've read in any
Yeah,
of these
it
books.
is, yeah.
Like, in terms of visceral, angry reaction and disgust, I can really only compare it to the just like outright racism of the Rig Warrior and the police shooting section from True Allegiance.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's fucking horrific. Short term, I want you to get your shit together. I want you to crush the riots. I want you to get your list back, and I want you to get those spies. There is another thing. There is a lot of talk about that red state whore you are shacked up with. It makes you look weak and far too cis besides.
What? What? That's not what that word means. like at some point, like his portrayal of the ignorance of the people he's trying to undermine. At some point, you cross a line, Kurt, and it's just you being stupid.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
And so shortly after one of the nastiest things you'll ever hear, you hear one of the most fucking ignorant things you'll ever hear. You know what I mean? You need to get rid of her. Rios Harrington smiled. Rios Harrington? Rios Parkinson.
Wait, really? Oh my god, you
Rios
fucking moron.
Talking about having your head up your fucking Schlichter. It was near 9:30 p.m. when they left the downtown complex. Before the split, the roads in West LA would have still been clogged even at this hour. But with Arthur driving and Sam in the front seat, the black SUV made excellent time.
Quite sure
Amanda was constantly pestering him to take her out on a Friday night. He had no interest in that. Her constant assertion of her needs and wants was something he would not miss in the slightest after he had Arthur and Sam take her away and shoot her. They continued north on the residential streets, twisting and climbing up the hills to the north. Wow, that's like one of the most blatant redundancies I've ever read.
Say that again.
They continued north on the residential streets, twisting and climbing up the hills to the north.
Yeah, I'm really getting the distinct feeling that this is the point at which Kurt stopped rereading what he
Yeah,
did.
yeah. If he'd have written a book, say about 62 pages long, it would have had a beginning, middle and end, and it would have... I'm not saying it would have been good,
No,
or, you know, but it would have
all
been...
the words would have been in the right
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He's
But
just
he's
run
got
away
to this
from
point and he's
himself,
just
yeah.
totally checked out and he doesn't give a fuck anymore. Amazing. They turned onto his street, just below the crest of the hill. Arthur radioed ahead that they were coming and received a confirmation from the house. They drove along the winding, narrow street until they approached his gate. The house itself was spectacular, a gift from one of the worms who had fled after the split. The backyard extended down the hill to a flat plateau the size of a basketball court where the pool and gardens were. Right, this is exactly what we've been talking about. I don't think you're going to find any more stark an example of it than this. We're supposed to hate him more for living in this house, but the worms who fled, they're heroic and great. So is opulence good? But again, this is the trouble, is that when we do a thing, it's good. When you do that same thing, it's bad.
Also, just a quick question, Kurt. What is your opinion on Israeli settlers stealing Palestinian people's homes in the manner that you just described there? I'd really love to hear
I think that's a pretty good question, Kurt. I think you should answer it.
You try and talk your way out of that one, Bozo.
Followed by Arthur and Sam, he came up the walkway to the front door and found it ajar. Typical. A man. Yeah.
I thought something was happening, but
well,
no.
snatch all the tension away from that scene, eh, bud?
Fuck me, I guess.
Amanda had likely gotten drunk and forgotten to close it again. He truly would not miss her. I think this is where our two stories are about to converge.
Yeah, I feel like surely, but who knows?
Hopefully it's just going to be a big explosion and everyone will be killed.
Yeah, and all the rest of the pages are just blank.
Yeah, oh god, that'd be
They're
amazing.
just all a red herring.
Pushing the heavy door open and stepping inside, he turned his head to tell Arthur to retrieve his computer from the SUV and heard one thwoot, then another. He saw Arthur slump against a red splattered wall and Sam staggering. It made no sense, but then it all became very clear as a powerful hand locked onto his shoulder, pulled him around and forced him back against the door jamb.
Typical Kelly.
A large black handgun pressed painfully hard into the depression at the top of his nose, squarely between his eyes. Behind the gun was an unsmiling face. "Welcome home, asshole," said Kelly Turnbull. It's a great one-liner, that one,
Yeah, classic. Joke's on you. Shit. Person.
15. They were stuck in the parking structure for several hours thanks to the security operation outside. Junior took the first watch and Turnbull slept in the back seat for a couple hours. He dozed right through the occasional bursts of gunfire. He kept squeezing the trigger of his auto in his sleep. Just fucking...
All his toes are gone.
No one ever came for the Tesla with the broken out rear window. Junior wondered if the owner wasn't lying on a slab somewhere with a carving fork through his sternum.
Honestly though, that is often what I think when I see a Tesla.
Yeah.
That's the picture that comes to mind.
We need food, Junior said from the passenger seat as they pulled out into the late Friday afternoon traffic. Up and down the street, things were normalising again. Cis-normalising again.
Am I right? Thanks anyway.
Maybe we might do better at a drive-through, Turnbull said. Do they even have drive-thrus here anymore? They used to. This place has devolved. They have managed to take the long arc of human progress and bend it to run right down the shitter.
I will be honest, especially after that last chapter, I have missed Kelly's.
You know, I lived here as a kid. I remember it. I mean, it was not like when my dad was a kid here in the 1960s and 70s. People were flocking here because of the opportunities. Reagan was the governor. Reagan, if you can believe it. The Democrats took over and the state went hard blue. All the regular people like my family were getting squeezed. The middle class, the normal people who made it a great place. They started leaving before the split was even an idea in anyone's head. This didn't just happen, this has been happening.
So the US didn't function, you mean? It failed to function in the same way
Yeah.
the Republic doesn't function.
Funny
So
that.
is the problem socialism or is it an inherited issue created by the United States of America? Don't worry guys, I'm sure he's about to address this in a real in-depth and insightful way.
This time tomorrow, by sunset, we ought to be making the crossing into Arizona. With Amanda, like I said. Ought to. We get her, we get the hard drive, we get the hell out of town and go back over. They stopped at a busy diner down Wilshire, something called Hep Cats. Inside there were lots of young adults enjoying Inside there were lots of young adults enjoying the blue take on 50s cuisine. But there were no nostalgic photos of kids bopping in poodle skirts and pompadours. Instead, the menu, in a box right above the listing of different cheeseburgers, explained that the 1950s were a time of incredible racism, sexism and homophobia that Hep Cats in no way condones. Instead, Hep Cats dedicates this climate-sensitive fare as a tribute to the men, women, non-binary and gender-unspecified individuals who struggled to escape the pitiless oppression inflicted upon them by the United States of America. I mean,
is the idea we're supposed to take from that the 1950s wasn't bad for any of those people? You're not making a point there, Kurt. You're just dismissing decades of oppression.
Yes.
That's not a point. Okay? That's just you reveling in being a cunt again.
I think I lost my appetite, Turnbull muttered. No, wait. I'm having a vanilla shake. Is that racist? Asked Junior after checking to ensure their blue-shirted dining facilitator was not nearby. Everything's racist. You should know that by now. And cis-normative too. Maybe you should order a corn dog. You know, expand your horizons. We can't be out of here soon enough. That is just what I was thinking.
Is he suggesting he should order a corn dog and then have sex with it?
Yes.
The hilarious thing about what he's saying there is that classic exaggeration of the opponent's argument to cover your own ridiculous argument. What he's actually doing by saying that allegations of racism, everything's racist.
He's saying
What
nothing's
he's actually suggesting is that nothing is racist, that it's all blown out of proportion, that it's all being exaggerated by his opponent to ultimately suggest that nothing is racist.
Racism does not exist.
Yeah, it's not that he actually believes that nothing can be racist. It's that you shouldn't treat racism as being bad because it is in fact good.
It is hilarious how they think they're clever. Dude, if you were clever,
we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. They dug into their food, eating it all. Burgers, plates of fries, shakes and coffee too. Both ex-soldiers understood instinctively the old truism that when you could eat, you ate. You never knew when you would get another opportunity to do so.
So, just to say, the last time this scene played out, when they were in the beginning, Junior refused to eat his eggs because they were so disgusting. So, yeah, a minor quibble, but hilarious nonetheless.
It was dark when they emerged. There was a checkpoint inside Beverly Hills manned by a pair of bored, uniformed PBI officers.
Jesus Christ. I'm never getting away from that word. I'm going to have to start running a fucking counter from bored. Jesus Christ.
They parked on the side of the narrow road next to a whitewashed wall surrounding a lot that backed up against the hillside. It was in a blind spot where none of the other residences along the street had a direct view of it. It's lucky they found that spot, isn't it?
How intensely convenient.
Yeah. Turnbull already had the silenced pistol in his pocket. He came around the Lexus and cupped his hands for Junior.
Cupped his hands around Junior.
Junior got a grip on the edge and pulled himself up. Then he reached back and pulled Turnbull over. They moved quickly but quietly, now communicating by hand gestures and nods. Someone down the hill must have had a window open because they could hear a TV announcer reading the UN's latest resolution decrying the genocidal fracking atrocities of the racist criminals of the so-called United States.
Of course, fracking is actually brilliant.
Oh, fracking's great!
I don't actually have to defend it in any way.
No,
I
it's
just say a criticism of it in a tone of voice that implies that it's stupid and wrong.
Turnbull knelt and swept a handful of fine dust off the ground. Then he reached over the fence and gently sprinkled it over the property line. "What are you doing?" asked Junior. "Looking for lasers," replied Turnbull.
He's always wanted to see it.
Junior joined them and they carefully moved...
You shut the fuck up, Joe. Okay, he's talking. Told you.
From down below them somewhere, the voice of the television announcer warned that the climate change crisis was once again just a year away from reaching the point of no return, and urged the largely pedestrian citizenry to continue to reduce their collective carbon footprint.
That's aged well,
Isn't it?
Me.
Fucking idiots.
Jesus
Again,
Christ.
Kurt, this is why you should just shut your fucking mouth about things you don't understand, because when you say things publicly, people hear what you have to say, and then they can actually test the merits of what you've said.
Yeah. And when you're wrong 100% of the
exactly. Makes you look a cunt.
Yeah.
There were lights on inside. The house is up some steps and there's someone home. We work around the side, then up. Follow me. Don't shoot my sister, Junior said. Turnbull looked down and saw he had drawn the silenced Ruger without a conscious thought. That's worrying. That's worrying.
She's just already dead in front of me. There's no memory of it.
Time to go, Junior.
Junior's dead as well. Covered in blood.
Turnbull moved, taking the stone steps upward 2 at a time, with Junior to his rear. At the top of the steps, Turnbull came around the corner onto another patio and stopped, facing a puzzled, round-faced man in a brown suit who was about to light a cigarette. The guy had a radio on his belt and a Sig Sauer pistol. He stood there for a moment, another kind of cig dangling from his lips, his hands cupping at his yet unflicked lighter. Kurt, stop trying to make jokes.
The reality is, Kurt, is the closest you've ever come to making a joke is your own miserable fucking life. Anything else you can safely cut it the fuck out.
Turnbull raised the weapon and took the headshot. A red dot appeared on the guard's forehead and he fell over backwards. Turnbull led the way inside the door as Junior knelt down to pick up the radio. There were dark hardwood stairs that headed up. There was light but no sound other than low music. Some kind of jazz. Up he went, one step at a time. A creak. A loud one. The attack came from over the wall. Turnbull was almost at the top when the lamp flew down toward him. Since it was thrown blind, it missed him, shattering on the wall and spraying glass over them both. "Lou!" a woman's voice screamed. Turnbull bolted up to the landing and pivoted, catching a glimpse of a wild-eyed blonde clad in blue jeans and a white t-shirt for just a moment before the heavy bookend she had hurled at him connected with his hip. The sharp pain from where the statuette's bill hit him, the bookend was made of iron and shaped like a mallard duck, broke his concentration enough to override his instinctive response, which was to have shot her in the face a couple of times.
That's what he actually said.
That is literally what it says. I did not
Jesus
make that up.
fucking Christ. Well, that is how they teach you how to de-escalate situations in America.
Turnbull bit his lip and charged her, though he found his left leg dragging. It hurt like hell. Amanda realised she was out of weapons and began looking around her to grab something else. Turnbull charged forward and she dodged, with Turnbull tripping over a low mid-century modern table in front of a sleek black leather couch. It's become Trump's tower. Her attention focused on Turnbull. She had not seen Junior, who leapt into her path. She saw him and her expression changed from rage to shock, and Junior smiled. Then her expression returned to rage and she ran directly at him, screeching and nails out like claws. Junior caught Amanda by the forearms, but the momentum was too much even for such a slight woman. Losing his footing on the throw rug that covered the hardwood floor, Junior went down with Amanda atop him, her hands clawing at his face as he tried to hold her back from gouging out his eyes. "You fucking earth!" she shrieked before the chokehold Turnbull gained by wrapping his right forearm about her throat, snuffed it out. He pulled her back and off Junior, taking her to the floor and pinning her under his bulk. "You need to calm the fuck down." He was talking to Kurt Schlichter. Amanda squirmed more and Turnbull pressed down harder. She gasped for air. She made a series of unintelligible guttural noises that, had she been able to speak, probably would have been a string of words that boiled down to a series of questions regarding his mother's chastity.
Women, eh?
She stood up. There were tears on her cheeks. Junior holstered his Glock. She rushed at him again, and the hug he expected turned into a hard slap across the face. "Can you two knock it the hell off? We need to get out of here." "Who are you?" Amanda asked, relaxing and ceasing her struggling. "Are you his assistant or something?" "Assistant?" sniffed Turnbull. "No. I'm the guy your daddy paid to get your dumb ass the hell out of Dodge." "We're heading to the border with Arizona," Junior said. "We get there, then we hike over." "Amanda," Turnbull said, "go with your brother and pack a bag with your stuff. Now, 2 questions. When does Loverboy get home? And do you have any kind of food in your kitchen? Because we should probably stock up."
You got any spaghetti in your I really like spaghetti. Sits there eating it.
Yeah.
In the spoon.
Like in beer pong.
Yeah, in a high chair. They were just to sit and wait.
How many cars does he have? "Just 2. Big assholes like Lou."
The use of language at times is fantastic.
A radio call from Arthur came in as Junior and Amanda were in the midst of packing her clothes. They made a quick plan and Turnbull handed the Ruger over to Junior, who slipped out the side door. Turnbull told Amanda to get in the back bedroom and keep quiet, then went to the foyer and opened the door slightly until it was ajar. Then he stepped back. That's what that means. It's like,
He measured it to the exact point at which a door becomes no longer merely open slightly, but exactly at the point at which it becomes ajar.
Footsteps. He could hear them coming. The door swung in a bit and someone stepped inside. There were 2 thwacks. There were groans and rustling, and now Turnbull was moving around the door towards the slight man with the dark hair who was staring out at his 2 slumping thugs. Turnbull planted his huge hand on the man's shoulder and forced him back against the door jamb with a thud. "Welcome home, asshole," Kelly Turnbull said. Turnbull grabbed his shoulder again and roughly pulled him inside. Outside on the door, Rios Parkinson stared up at them, his face flushed with both anger and fear. Turnbull stared back. "Did you piss yourself?" he asked, noting the dark stain on the director's suit pants that was spreading south. Amanda walked in. The director scowled. "Bitch!" he hissed. "Bastard!" she replied angrily, but then a smile broke across her face as she saw his lap, and she began laughing while Rios Parkinson fumed. "You and her finish up packing. We need to be gone. Now, you didn't just find us, you have a source. Someone who knocked us out to you. Who is he?" "His name," Rios Parkinson said, "is Jacob. You know, I don't think you're lying to me. You're soft and untrained. You're not a soldier. You're a glorified prison guard. This is all coming down, and what happens to guys like you when their little regimes fall apart? What do you want? I have a friend who would be very interested in talking to you. His job is very similar to yours, except he doesn't arrest people for speaking freely or protesting."
Oh yeah, correct. I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. "You want me to spy for the United States? To be a traitor? Yes, absolutely. You understand me perfectly. A modern day Benedict Arnold. You know who he was, right? No? Forget it. Yes, if you will work with my friend Clay, I won't kill you here and now." Just such a way with words.
Yeah.
Junior returned to the room alone. "She's almost ready. Good, said Turnbull. Watch him. I gotta hit the head.
They're literally just gonna go for a piss now.
Junior pulled out the Ruger as Turnbull holstered his Glock and turned away toward the bedroom. Amanda was zipping the day pack closed on the bed when Turnbull entered. Don't shut it. Let me see. You'll be surprised how many people forget to mention shit that they can track us with. Turnbull unzipped the pack and rifled through it. A wallet? Watch this. My photos, she said. Hard copy prints. Turnbull nodded and put it back in the pack. Then he walked to the master bath and slid the door shut behind him. The commotion began as he was washing his hands. Well, I'll give him that. I didn't expect him to be a hand washer. I would have expected him to just piss all over the floor.
No, I'll give that to Kurt. I was fully expecting him to fully describe the piss.
It was a healthy orange colour.
It smelled like popcorn.
He pulled the door open and drew his Glock at a run down the long hallway. At the other end, he heard a hail of gunshots and saw Junior coming up the stairs and dive onto the landing as a flurry of bullets slammed into the wall. He got the jump on me and ran downstairs, Junior said. I ran after him, but he must have got the pistol off the dead guard. See, I thought him just going and taking a piss would probably be a bad idea.
Because, of course, Kelly Turnbull couldn't be there when something went wrong. Because Kelly is perfect in every way.
Yeah, exactly. He's in the wind. Fuck. Okay, out front. Amanda, get your keys. We're taking your car down to get ours and then hauling ours back to David's. The trio ran out front with Amanda dodging the bodies and Turnbull stepping on them. It actually says that. It actually says. How many times in this book have we had to clarify that as well? Like, no, that's not me just making it up. That's an actual line in the book.
Yeah.
He slid into the Nissan's passenger seat and, as Amanda drove out the gate and down the street, proceeded to open the back of Rios Parkinson's cell phone and slip out the SIM chip. That went in his pocket. He hurled the dead cell phone out his window into someone's jasmine bushes. Rios Parkinson was out of breath. He was never an athlete, and this scramble out of the house and across the yard, then over walls into other yards and down the streets, was probably the most physical exertion he had indulged in since his racist PE coach had made him do laps as a high school sophomore. There was a signal, but a weak one. 1 or 2 bars, depending on where he stood. He dialed the main exchange, but because he was without his address book feature and did not remember the individual phone numbers, he had to bully his way through the central exchange until he finally reached Larson. Seal the sector! No one leaves, he screamed. And take the Jews.
16. They parked across the street from the eastern wall of the west side sector in as quiet and out-of-the-way place as they could find and waited. No patrols. There was a camera mounted on a light pole. Turnbull got out of the car, walked directly underneath, and shot it with the silenced Ruger. Chances are the guys assigned to watch the feeds of all the security cameras would write this off as just another malfunction. An incredibly convenient plot device conjured up in the mind of the author. He got back into the Lexus... Lexi, plural. He got back into the Lexus which they had driven to in Amanda's Nissan and swung it around to the other side of the road, right up next to the wall.
Oh, he's so bad at this.
They climbed up onto the trunk, then onto the roof, snipped through the razor wire with their wire cutters and climbed over the wall.
You never told me they had wire cutters. Deus Ex wire cutters.
It was a long walk to the abandoned Del Taco. They moved fast, knowing they needed to warn David. Turnbull was not sure exactly what he'd do to help the people, but it was pretty clear their time was running out. They would have to go out, all 27 and a half of them. The 3 of them kept to the shadows and tried to avoid arousing attention. Turnbull. Amanda was particularly nervous, and it was clear she was worried. She had reason to be. Several salty-looking crews looked the trio over. I'm not really sure what that means, to be honest.
A salty-looking crew. I'm sorry, are we reading Treasure Island?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Spawning a parrot and peg legs.
Yeah.
Turnbull's hard looks in return convinced them that discretion was the better part of predation. They moved on to weaker prey. And literally, that has happened about 9 separate times. Every time someone comes up like, and then they see Kelly Turnbull and they shrink before his awesome power. When the 3 got near to the old restaurant, they didn't go straight in right away.
Okay, you
Yeah,
could.
they didn't
Again,
go straight in.
again, it's
They
like he does that
go
all the
right
time where it's
away.
like, pick one
all these
and
redundant
use
terms.
it. Yeah.
They watched it from the ground floor window of a deserted office building about 150 yards away. The kid, Abraham, was there all right. He's got a pack on, said Junior, handing back the binos, brackets, bananas. Down the street, maybe 350 yards to the east in the direction of David's building, a pair of PSF cruisers slid into view and blocked the intersection. Their light bars went on. 4 PSF thugs got out, casually standing around their vehicles. Awesome, said Turnbull bitterly. Turnbull pivoted to look south and north. There's a hell of a pivot there, Kurt. Nothing there. Then, from the east, a rattle of gunfire. David asked Junior. Yeah, gotta be. We need to go get Abraham. Shit, he's moving. Abraham had stared east for a moment and began running directly at the cruisers. Kid's going back to his house. Damn it! Turnbull pointed at Amanda. You stay here, Junior. Come on. So much noise today.
I know.
You stay here, Junior. Exact same place in the same. You stay here. Didn't even let me get as far
A
as
fucking
that.
seagull.
Gone are the halcyon days of pigeon watch.
Yeah. Now we're getting abused by seagulls.
In the distance, more bursts of gunfire. Many more. And the dull thud of an explosion. The kid was far ahead of them. There was no way they would catch him before he reached the vehicles. And as it became clear that the kid was going to try and rush through the roadblock, the PSF thugs spread out to take him down. Something that would never happen in the US of A because the child would already be dead. He tried to dodge, and when they tackled him, he struggled. One of the PSF thugs then kicked the pinned teen hard in the ribs. Another pressed a knee into his back to hold him down, while zip-tying the kid's hands behind him. 2 of them lifted Abraham to his feet and threw him against one of the cruisers. One of them opened the back door and unceremoniously shoved Abraham inside. The other went to the passenger seat with the pack. After a brief conversation, the driver got in, started up the cruiser, and pulled away to the south. Is there any particular reason why they didn't just shoot them there and take the hard drive?
I don't know. You have to assume it would have been easier than what? Are they going to follow them to the police
they're gonna
station?
have to assault a police station now. I'm not quite clear. They gotta be going to the Hollywood station, Turnbull said. Come on. Turnbull stepped back onto the sidewalk and started heading toward the remaining cruiser. Junior followed, unsure. As they approached, one of the PSF thugs shouted, "Hey, turn your ass around." "What?" asked Turnbull, slurring the word a bit. "Turn your drunk asses around or we'll kick 'em." Wow, amazing.
That's kick or be kicking, mate.
Yeah. "I told you to." Turnbull drew and fired 2 quick shots into his face, then pivoted and dropped the other with 2 rounds as he tried to draw. "Shit, Kelly," said Junior. So that's how easy it was.
Yeah,
There
could
was
you not
no
have just done
reason.
that before?
Yeah,
Like, there
no
were
reason.
only 2 other cops there.
There was no reason for them to just let him get arrested.
Mm.
"Well, we aren't leaving that kid in the hard drive with those assholes. We're going in to get him. He's in a PSF station. It's full of cops." "Don't ever call them cops. They aren't police. They're just criminals with guns." By George, he's done it! Turnbull had the driver's door open and was looking under the dash for a switch. There it was. He flipped it. The PSF thugs liked to be able to cut off their GPS tracking sometimes, so they could do their personal business using official vehicles. So most had unofficial kill switches installed by PSF mechanics they threw a few bucks at for the service. Let's say, for instance, that the police were required to wear some kind of device that recorded their activities in the line of duty. You'd never see them flipping a switch, turning them off. You know what empties a station of PSF assholes fast? Dead PSF assholes. Now get in. Turnbull reached for the radio hand mic as Junior brought the Kevlar vests around and jumped into the passenger seat. Turnbull keyed it. Help! I'm a citizen, and there's 2 PSF who were shot here. Help! Somebody shot them. The speaker.
A different kind of bird now.
We'll have like a bird watch thing. Anyone in the audience identify the fucking birds by the fucking noises they make. The speaker came alive. Who is this? Say again? Yeah, I'm just a citizen, and there's 2 officers lying in the road here near Rosewood and Fairfax. That would lead them away nicely. The guy who did this is a short cis male, red hair, blue jacket. Oh no. He's coming back! Turnbull kept it keyed as he pulled out his Glock and fired a round out the window, then tossed away the mic and gunned the cruiser west up the street back to Amanda. They pulled up outside the deserted office building where they had left her and trotted inside. Is that because they're pigs? They're wearing pig uniforms. They trotted inside. Amanda stood holding a 2x4 that was splattered with red. On the ground, a dirty gentleman groaned.
A dirty gentleman?
How much for a dirty gentleman? His head had evidently become acquainted with the piece of wood in the not-too-distant past. He was very rude, Amanda said. He has no social graces. Yep, you're a Texas girl. Get the packs. We're out of here. They sat in the cruiser, idling, watching the police station from across Wilcox Avenue. The patrol car lot was nearly empty. On the way over, they had seen at least a dozen heading west fast on their wild goose chase after the cis-normative ginger assassin. It looks like they keep the impounded cars over there. I don't expect them to do an inventory of them and find one missing before we get out to the border. Junior started putting on his suppressor, but Turnbull stopped him. No, we want it loud, he said. This is flat-out urban guerrilla warfare. We're done with subtlety. We're going in and shooting anyone who gets in our way. Speed, aggression, and violent execution. Remember, these assholes ain't soldiers. We are.
It's assault on Precinct 13.
Except the sociopathic gang members are the good guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll take them time to react. By then, you will have the keys to one of these cars and I'll have Abraham in the drive. How do I find where they keep the impound keys, Kelly? You take a blue and you shove the muzzle of that M4 in his face and ask him. What if he doesn't tell me? Then you pull the fucking trigger and then ask the next one. He'll tell you. Junior was staring. What? Asked Turnbull. Maybe I'm just not as angry at them as you are, Junior said. No, but you should be. They say the worst wars are the civil wars. Well, they're right. You know those nice Jewish people who helped us? These fuckers helped slaughter them. We laugh at their stupid political correctness shit, but deep down what they are about isn't funny. We're all expendable when it comes to them preserving their power.
Oh my God!
They're just the latest people to try to butcher their way to utopia. Did I ever tell you what they did to a church full of people in Indiana who they thought were Red sympathizers? I got to help pull out the bodies of people whose only crime was not worshipping socialism's false god. I'm not sure exactly
what does that even fucking mean?
Now that kid and probably a lot of other innocent people are going to die unless we do what we gotta do. So, are you coming? I'm coming.
Oh my God!
You know, I didn't ask for it to be this way. I didn't ask for them to rip my country apart. But it fucking is what it is. Now let's go get that kid. They got out and opened the rear door for Amanda.
I love that while they've been going through all this, she's just been sat there, just
mouth open.
Yeah.
Staring at Turnbull. Turnbull produced the PSF Beretta and handed it to Amanda, along with 3 extra magazines. You know how to use this? He asked. I may have been stupid enough to leave it once, but I'm still from Texas, she answered, pulling back the slide and loading around. Shoot anyone who gets in your way. She shoots him immediately.
Yeah. It just keeps him and then her brother.
Turnbull and Junior locked and loaded as they walked across Wilcox Avenue to the PSF station. End of chapter 17. Rios Parkinson was livid. He had spent that critical hour trying and largely failing to organize his forces via intermittent cellular phone communication. But now, in the back of the SUV, he had clear comms again. And the raid? We were about an hour away from being able to launch, Larson reported. An hour? Rio Parkinson shrieked.
That is amazing how
he could not keep
checked out hard, mate.
An hour? Rio Parkinson shrieked. Do it now! Director, Larson said patiently. You have to move the people and equipment.
It's a whole flock and a fucking crowd.
Larson, I am warning you. Raid the compound. The spies are coming if they are not already there, and they cannot get the hard drive. On the other end, Larson scowled. Unlike his boss, he was a professional. He had run operations in the old military before the split. And then for the Blues during the bloody Indiana counterinsurgency campaign.
God.
Say those 2 words again. I know you want to. Execute your orders. Find the drive. The convoy flew past the PSF perimeter until it reached the crush of vehicles surrounding the apartment complex. Rios Parkinson's new 10-man personal security team, it was all male, in defiance of the strict rules designed to stamp out phallocentrism in the security forces, exited the vehicles before their boss, ensuring it was safe for him to come out. From inside the complex, there were bursts of gunfire and occasional screams. There was the dull thud of an explosion. What have you found in the cleared areas so far? Nothing yet, said Larson. No hard drive, and we have not found their leader yet, this David Kaplan. Let me look at the dead ones. Our spies may be among them. A female wearing PSF tactical gear pulled back the tarps, exposing the faces of the dead. Several men, several women, some kids. And Jacob shot through the windpipe. What did you find? Larson asked. No one important, Rios Parkinson replied. No, in fact, actually, no, Rios Parkinson relied. We're just getting completely off the rails here. Like,
He doesn't give a shit
yeah,
at this point.
no, he knew no one's getting anywhere near this far.
We might be the first people
Yeah,
to ever read this.
yeah. We're like the pioneers of old, breaking new ground in the American frontier. Don't worry about any of the implications of that, you know. Don't worry about them.
What the fuck is that? Like, what is
Yeah,
that?
I'm not sure. That sounded like plastic. I don't know. No, it's a bird. The spies are not here. They are still in Los Angeles, and without the hard drive. Find them. There was a commotion around them that the director did not immediately understand.
We need to get a scarecrow, apparently.
Now people were pointing upwards. Rios Parkinson looked up too. A man stood on the edge of the rooftop above them. Rios Parkinson could make out a skull cap. Larson, not quite sure how he was doing
How
that.
can he see a skull cap but no one coming
The
out?
guy's above him on the rooftop, and he can see what's on top of his head. I'm not quite sure. That's quite doable, but moving on. Larson glanced at his tablet screen. I think that's David Kaplan. Get him! Rios Parkinson said, and Larson turned away, shouting orders into his radio. David stood on the edge of the rooftop for a moment, his eyes closed, his mouth moving as if he was speaking. Was it a prayer? Rios Parkinson looked fascinated. The man really believed all his superstitious nonsense. David tumbled forward, rolling in the air, hitting squarely on the spiked fence.
Oh my god, what?
Not quite sure why. The crowd gasped. There was no question of him having survived. There's been a reported shooting of 2 PSF officers somewhere to the west, near Fairfax and Rosewood. It has to be them, said Rios Parkinson. Send everyone available. Seal off the entire area for 12 blocks. Go house to house. Kick in every door. Find them and kill them. No prisoners. Do you understand me? Absolutely, Director. Rios Parkinson savoured the feeling, or relief. The feeling... Oh, what?
The feeling of relief?
What? Rios Parkinson savoured the feeling or relief, comma, the feeling of victory. Okay, at this point, I don't know if he's just fuck-witted, or if he's just so fucking lazy, he's just not even bothered to make these sentences make sense anymore.
Hey man, hey, there's no need to be judgmental. Why can't it be both?
Yeah, but Larson was overcome with a deep unease, and against his better judgment, he shared it. There's a story about the Jews. They were surrounded on a hilltop by Romans.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
There was no way out, so they killed themselves rather than be taken alive. It was called Masada. Rios Parkinson looked at his deputy with a measure of disgust. So, I was just thinking that the Jews, well, they're still around, and the Romans, they aren't.
Yes, they are. They live in Rome.
Are you familiar with Italy? I mean, this is literally just the scene from The
The Sopranos. Yeah. Well, I was going to say that scene works in The Sopranos when he says, you know, oh, where are the Romans now?
Yeah,
and it seems all pithy, but then he just gets the immediate response, you're looking at them.
Yeah.
You ever heard of the Masada? For 2 years, 900 Jews held their own against 15,000 Roman soldiers. They chose death before enslavement. And the Romans, where are they now?
You're looking at him, asshole.
Rio's Parkinson's face was stony and blank. Just find me the hard drive. Turnbull and Junior crossed Wilcox toward the PSF building, which looked like it was probably an edgy harbinger of the not-too-distant future when it was built in the 1960s. It had gone downhill considerably since, and had been partially rebuilt after the post-split rioting had destroyed some of it. The old Los Angeles Police Department signage was all pulled down, replaced with the words People Security Force on the dirty brick face. Even the bricks were all rubbish. A central stairwell led up to the public entrance where a dim light shone. Put in your plugs. Excuse me? Put in your plugs, Turnbull said, jamming the plastic baffles into his ear canals.
Into his what?
Into his canal. There were some people wandering about, but the two men in what looked like plain clothes carrying weapons and wearing old black plate-carrying vests that had PSF spray painted on the front and back in yellow drew little notice.
Oh, well, it's lucky you brought them up in so much detail.
Thank you for really highlighting that nothing happened.
Yeah.
Turnbull checked his watch. It's 10:43. If I'm not out there in the impound lot at 10:53, you take your sister and get the fuck out of here. Don't come after me. If I'm not there, it's because I'm dead.
Kelly, you're a piece of shit. I'm not coming after
I'm
you.
not waiting 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They turned up the steps to the public entrance. Inside, a blue sat at a counter typing something, taking no notice. A few sad, dour people sat on bench seats lining the foyer. Let me guess, were they all bored? Because I know you know about 3 words, Kurt.
Asshole bored. Guess we'll find out the other one.
Moo moo. Hard and fast, Turnbull said, and pushed open the front door. The PSF officer looked up, and Turnbull opened fire with a burst into his upper chest. He spilled backwards out of his chair. The attackers rushed forward, heedless of the civilians screaming and taking cover around them.
I love it when my action heroes are heedless of civilians.
Before Kelly had even realised it, he'd drawn his pistol and shot all of them in the head. He was screaming, God bless. Behind the counter was an empty work area with 2 doors. One read, Impound Operations, and went off to the rear. The other read, Authorized personnel only. Junior leapt the low barrier and went to the dead officer's workstation looking for, finding, and then pushing a green button. There was a buzz, and Turnbull, weapon up, pulled open the Authorized personnel only door. It opened to a long hallway occupied by 3 PSF officers who were rushing forward, one with her Beretta out, 2 more struggling to remove theirs from their holsters. Turnbull squeezed off a burst one-handed, then rushed through the door and raised the weapon to his ready position, firing again. The walls erupted with geysers of plaster and dust as the first officer staggered back under the impact. Turnbull fired again at face level, and the other 2 went down as well. Turnbull charged down, trying to cover any angle of potential attack. A blue with a mug stood stunned in an office as he passed. Turnbull fired again, and he went backwards and crashed over a desk, blood and coffee mingling on his stomach. I am 100% certain that is literally a shot lifted straight out of the Terminator.
Yeah. I am fucking shocked. Turnbull didn't go in there first and ask a question and then say, I'll be back, and then drive a truck into the police station. I'm shocked that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm offended!
Fuck you, asshole.
The M4's bolt locked back and Turnbull seamlessly replaced the magazine. Hundreds of training iterations in the close-quarter battle houses of Bragg paying off. Despite the plugs, his ears were ringing. Maybe you should put them in your ears then. Another long hallway, and 2 more PSF officers were in it. He fired and could make out the center mass impacts on the first one. The next burst caught the shooter in the upper chest, neck and face. It's like the way, again, he's just never ever even gone up against anyone vaguely dangerous.
No.
Everything is just a fucking...
They're basically just like stormtroopers from Star Wars level.
Yeah,
like.
they're all just children running around with toy guns and just massacres.
So this doesn't make you look brave or
Yeah.
skilled, bro. This makes you look like a bully, essentially. Like,
Yeah. There was a sign, just what he was looking for. It said a number of things, but he paid attention to cells, evidence locker, and arms room. Weapon ready, Turnbull moved out. Letting his M4 hang by its sling across his chest, Junior started flipping through the 24 sets of car keys and paper labels clipped to them. Junior was indecisive for a moment until he saw one marked reserved for Lieutenant Winfrey. Perfect. If the lieutenant was going to steal it for himself, it was probably good to go. He took the keyless remote and put it in his pocket. Junior returned to look at the dead officer's desk. There was a public address and microphone, just as they had expected. Junior keyed it. Attention, Hollywood Station. We are under attack by racist terrorists. They are dressed as uniformed officers. Repeat. They are dressed as uniformed PSF officers. Engage them whenever you see them. So they were just going to shoot each other. They all started committing suicide. Oh no, I'm one of the racist terrorists. No. Really, it was that simple. Their entire armed forces killed themselves.
Communists have a hive mind.
Yeah. Junior threw down the mic and hit the buzzer. At the same time, he stretched to reach for the door, just barely grabbing the handle and pulling it open. Gun up, he went inside where Turnbull had been. That guy squatting behind the desk of the office of the second hallway. Jesus fucking Christ. That guy squatting behind the desk in the office of the second hallway was actually putting up some resistance. Turnbull admitted to himself as he sat on the dirty linoleum floor, pulling a fresh mag out of his vest and inserting it in his M4's well.
oh my fucking god.
I could probably swim a mile underwater after reading this shit. We've got the most powerful lungs in the game. Fuck it, he said, and levelled his carbine at the dirty light green painted wall about 18 inches above the floor in the general direction of his nemesis and fired off the entire...
This is his nemesis now.
He's a nemesis now. They've been fighting for all of 2
Centuries,
minutes. The one guy to ever fight back has now just instantaneously become his nemesis. There was a slight groan from the office. Nothing. Turnbull got to his feet and kept moving toward the arms room. A few yards ahead, a uniformed PSF officer, clearly wounded, stepped out of an office, firing back into it. There was a moan, then silence from inside. The officer was unsteady and fell. Turnbull noted the 2 chest wounds. Inside, sprawled on the linoleum floor, was another uniformed PSF officer. The thug with the chest wounds had killed him. Nice job, Junior, Turnbull muttered. Like,
How could that? What? Yeah, exactly. They work together every fucking day, and they just start killing each other.
The fucking mindset this cunt has.
Does he think that that's like clever and cool and oh wow, yeah, he just told them, oh, they're dressed as cops, so they
told
just
them all to
shooting
kill
each other.
themselves and they did it. He pressed forward until he came to the arms room. Someone had opened it up because the door was wide open. Oh yeah, how could you tell that the door was open? Was the door open? Damn, the analytical mind that's bred in the heart of a warrior. Someone had opened it up because the door was wide and the light was on. Wow, fucking Sherlock Holmes is on the case. A PSF officer stood outside yelling something. It was hard to hear through the ringing and the plugs, but it sounded like rifle. Turnbull lit him up and charged into the open door. Alone, as he reloaded, he looked around the room. Fucking A, he said, delighted, as he grabbed a canvas bag off the shelf. Then his eyes alighted on something even more interesting.
So now this is just the Pulp Fiction scene where Bruce Willis is moving up to the chainsaw.
It was a wooden crate, the top pried open, with the words, grenade, fragmentation, M67. Oh, hell yes, he said, stepping forward. But from behind, a voice. Come on, man, get me a fucking AK or M4. I need a rifle. It was a PSF officer with 2 teardrop tats below his left eye, fearfully looking back down the hallway. Well, the M4 is technically a carbine. What? Replied the blue, incredulous. The M4 is a carbine. Whatever. Turnbull drew his Glock in a smooth motion, double-tapped him centre mass, then finished him with a round to the forehead. In a minute he's going to ask someone if they know what AR-15
Yeah.
Junior went through the door into the night air, standing on a concrete patio from which a few stairs led down to the impound lot. The 12-foot high chain-link fence was opening with a low grrr.
Hello, girl.
He hit the keyless remote button and there was a beep and a flash of lights. The Explorer. He headed down the stairs. Down the hall from the arms room, Turnbull took one of the grenades out of the bag and pulled the pin, throwing it underhanded back inside. Then he ran and covered his ears. Before leaving the arms room, he had made sure to smash every bottle of gun cleaner on the shelves, so the bone-shaking explosion of the composition B in the grenade was complemented by the flammability of the cleaning fluid.
Oh, fuck off, Kurt, you tosspot. Yeah.
I called him a gun nerd right at the beginning.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really coming out now.
Jesus Christ.
He headed toward the small cell block where they held short-term prisoners before either letting them go with a beating or transferring them downtown for more extensive abuse. In the cell room was an unarmed, dumpy PSF officer cowering behind a counter. No guns in the cell block. You, Turnbull said, M4 leveled at her head. They brought in a kid tonight. Where is he? She started something incoherent, terrified. She was used to cuffed and cowed prisoners. Not this. Listen, I will fucking shoot you. Where's the kid?
Yeah, she was used to bullying unarmed people that were much smaller and less well trained than her. Unlike our hero.
Who wouldn't be caught dead doing that very thing right this very moment. Okay, open all the cells. She stood, her jaw quivering. Do it. 3, 2... She leaned forward and hit several buttons. Turnbull grabbed her by the shoulder and pushed her through. It's... This line! Oh my god, I think this is the best line in the book, and I genuinely think it's great. Turnbull grabbed her by the shoulder and pushed her through. It smelled like a sewer had shit another sewer back there. The image of a sewer shitting a second sewer out of its arse. Fucking amazing. The fucking mind on this gun.
He is fucked, man.
The fluids.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
The smells.
Fucking
the
loves
guy's a
it.
fucking total freak. Turnbull shoved the officer forward and covered her with his carbine. Abraham, come out. We're leaving. The other prisoners stared numb. Down at the end, a young boy's head peeked around the corner. Remember me, Abraham? I'm taking you out of here. Come on, run. We gotta go. All of you, you're free. Get out of here. Go before this place burns down. I mean, the fact that not only is he indiscriminately setting free all of the prisoners, something that he went on and on about earlier on, he's now actually burning a police station down.
We should have seen this coming, really.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah.
But the prisoners seemed less interested in leaving than in the guard. They surrounded her silently, and she began to babble and step backwards. They kept coming. Abraham reached Turnbull and he took the kid by the upper arm and pulled him out the door. The last thing he saw was one of the prisoners raise her fist and bring it down on the guard's face. As he turned and pushed the kid out into the hallway, he could hear her incoherent screaming through his plugs.
Yay!
Who says chivalry is dead?
Boom, 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 boom. Ich schieß dich einfach ab. Leg dich einfach flach. Nimm dich mit zu mir. Steck dich in mein Haus. Boom, 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 boom. Ah. Ich mag, wie du dich bewegst. Während auf meinem Flur. Wenn du zu mir sprichst. In dieser süßen Art. Ich mag es, ich mag das.
Oh god, it's like, just imagine having a conversation with him, you'd feel like you were like in the 1940s, like talking to a serial rapist in prison or something.